Welcome back to another episode of the 500 Sprintcast, and we're going to flip the script on you a little bit this week because it is Little 500 Preview Show. I'm Zach Heiser. Ashton Smyth joins me. Ashton, we've got a great guest to help us start the program off this week.
Yeah, nothing better than kicking off the Little 500 preview with a previous winner. So welcome to the 500 Sprintcast, Bobby Santos. Bobby, thanks for joining us.
Hi guys, thanks for having me on. Looking forward to it.
Well, Bobby, let's talk about the Little Five in general, first and foremost. What a race. You have done so much in your career, really an open wheel specialist. You know, I was first introduced to you and what you were doing in modifieds up in the Northeast, and then start running sprint cars here around the Midwest and things of that nature. What is the Little 500 mean to somebody like you who's got that open wheel background and has done the other stuff as well? How big is this event coming up next weekend?
Man, I think I just fell in love with this race a handful of years ago. I wish I did it sooner than I did. I always ran the night before the 500 in the Midget, and that was a great show, great event, and then that kind of started to fade away, and just got interested in the Little Five. And after running my first Little Five, I think it was 2014. I said to myself, "Man, I wish I started doing this sooner." It's just one of those events. Just you can't. I always tell people you can't explain it to people. You need to see it yourself in person to just everything about it, from the people that are there, the atmosphere, the race itself. The pit stops, the strategy, just everything about it is really unique, really special. I mean, it's our Knoxville for pavement sprint car guys.
Let's talk about this weekend as a whole. So, a lot of people, the general masses, Indy 500, they get it. Memorial Day weekend, it is a whole deal. Little 500, same thing. From practice day to bump day to then you finally you get to race day after 3-4 days of really competition and wearing things out, man. What sort of things are you doing to prep for everything that goes into Little 500 weekend?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the prep for it started over the winter. Just from getting our pit stop stuff ready, the fueling rig ready, getting all the guys together to be coordinated for the pit stops, and then preparing the race car to run 500 laps without issue. So just everything, and then then personally, just on the driving side, just being mentally prepared, physically ready to run that race. But again, it's a race that I love. I look forward to it. I look forward to the long distance races. Just everything about it, I enjoy and look forward to.
Since preparing the car for the 500 laps, but what is it like preparing you physically for 500 laps? I mean, that's a long race and it's got to be exhausting. What kind of prep goes into that?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, my first handful of little 500s, I didn't do anything other than go racing. But after hitting, I think it was 30 or so, I need to get my act together on being a little healthier. So I mean, I just go to just go to the gym and try to work out. And now honestly, I look forward to when it's hot and humid, and some of the younger guys get out of breath and fall out of the seat, and I feel like that's when I can keep going.
You've won this event before. We mentioned that a little bit earlier. Take us back to that moment when you've ran it for so many years and you're finally standing on that stage. How huge was that for you?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like there was probably at least two or three prior to that we could have, should have won, but we didn't. And then, 2020 was a weird year in itself because of the COVID year, and it was a Labor Day race instead of Memorial Day. And we had a good race, had good pit stops. The guys did a great job and put ourselves in position. It's weird. It seems like that's the race where you feel like you have the best car and you don't win. And then maybe, the year we won, we may not have been the best car, but we put ourselves in position and ran a good race.
Last year, going back to 2024, decent starting spot. You start 11th, bring it home in the top 10, finish 7th. What do you remember about last year's race? And Is that another one that you feel like, man, 2 laps down, which is not terrible if you're not going to win the race after 500 laps in Anderson, to only be 2 laps behind the leader, not bad. What do you build from last year's performance?
I mean, last year I felt like we had a good car and we had good pit stops. Unfortunately, we kind of were a victim of the push truck situation last year.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't, our speed wasn't 2 laps down. We just lost those laps in the pits, which, that's a part of that race. And I've said to people, I've run this race, over 10 times now. And last year, you hear people's stories and different stuff all the time. Um, but last year was the first year I ever had a pit stop or a push truck and not get a push truck. So overall, I felt very lucky. Feel very lucky and fortunate in that race to not have that issue. But unfortunately, that kind of cost us last year. So from our standpoint, I don't think that we necessarily need to do anything different. We just need to, run our race and do a good job on our end.
How frustrating is that? And again, you mentioned it's a byproduct of the little 500, but you've run NASCAR sanctioned stuff, you've run the wheel and modified stuff up in New England, and you kind of can. It's still a team effort, but you have a little bit of control over what happens with that race car when you're going down pit road. How helpless of a feeling are pit stops on the little 500?
Well, again, last year was the first time we ever had the push truck issue in all the years I've run it. So, honestly, I feel like we work hard to eliminate issues on our end, on the guys doing a good job on the pit stops. I mean, I feel like we've assembled a great group of guys. I've had a pretty good core group that's helped me. Kind of I've got a couple guys from day one that stuck with me, and we've grown on that and had a good core group. But sure, there's definitely element of the race that's out of your control, and that's probably the most frustrating part is when things are out of your control. Because you feel like you do everything car wise, pit stop wise, prep everything um, to control everything, but unfortunately you just can't. And that hurts when that is what you feel like costs you the race. But um, that's part of the greatness in that race too, is kind of the unknown.
Do you think that gives you some more like motivation going into it this year, knowing last year you had the speed and now coming back you have that speed and just hoping that the luck aspects maybe more on your side?
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely that race you definitely get motivated for and want to come back for every year. But no, just to that race, I feel like I don't need a reason to get motivated and excited for the 500. It's just the race that you circle every year, and the goal is if we don't win that race, it's disappointing every year.
Let's talk about the week as a whole because that's a huge week for open wheel pavement racing. You've run, at IRP in the past in Silver Crown Midgets and then obviously the 500. What are your plans for this year? Are you pulling all three and what's that like trying to balance all three of that all within that week?
Yeah, we're running. I'm running Jeff West, Midget again, and then the DJ Racing Silver Crown car and the DJ Racing Sprint car for Little Five. So personally, just getting right now. Actually, what I'm working on is getting trailers organized and prepped to go in basically two different directions for the team. Have the Silver Crown car at IRP and the whole sprint car operation for Anderson. So honestly, that's the hard part, just coordinating and making sure all the guys are in the right place at the right time, and the preparation for everything from making sure we have the nitrogen and everything we need to go racing. It's a lot of work, but again, I look forward to this event every year.
When do you have to be ready to go with doing those two major events? I mean, when do you have to be? I love this, by the way. For those listening on the audio, your I presume your son is giving you a hard time here as we do this interview. When do you need to be ready to roll out of the shop with these two big races? I mean, a lot of people they do their prep work and they put it in the box on Wednesday and go to the racetrack. When do you have
Yep.
to be ready to go?
We need to have, my plan and goal is to have my trailer door shut Monday afternoon, so that I can, bring it home to my house, Monday night and roll into the track to get parked on Tuesday, and then on the track on Wednesday. So ideally, in the perfect world, is get the trailer parked on Tuesday so that the rest of Tuesday can kind of chill and get all mentally caught up and ready to go for Wednesday. And then every year I always say want to be at Anderson Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday I don't even want to think about Anderson. I want to we've had years where I've made some silly mistakes and caused us to be there on Friday, which has made our job a lot harder. And then obviously the whole other factor in the whole week is rain, bringing us to IRP on Saturday morning, which I don't think anybody wants. Because then we're running 600 plus laps in one day on Saturday, which just creates more logistical nightmares.
I want to get back into, and then Ashton will throw back to you. Get back into the days of leading up to the little 500. How important is qualifying day for you? You've got a pole start in this event, at least one that I can see here, and a couple of them are blank on my notes that I have. How big is that qualifying effort, and how much of what you guys prepare for is qualifying up front or qualifying into the show, and then once that's complete, figure out how to get the car into race trim?
Yeah, to be perfectly honest, the qualifying is definitely where we struggle, and I'm not good at. That is important for us because the race has changed. The pace of the race, the pit stops, everything's changed where it's faster. And starting up front, 10 years ago didn't matter, but I think now, in my mind, I'd really like to be in the first three rows. I have, honestly, the poll is not, I'm not even thinking about that. If we ended up on the front row or something like that, I'd be ecstatic with that. But realistically, in my mind, if we qualify in the front three rows, I'm happy. Because I know that we will race good. We'll have a car that's capable of racing with anybody. Our pit stops will match anybody. Our longevity and the way we run the race is as good or better than anybody. So just getting in that first three rows will be a relief, honestly, the end of the day, Thursday. And instantly go to race mode.
There's so many different unique factors about this event, and you keep talking about the longevity that plays into it, pit stops that play into it, qualifying efforts as well. But for you, what do you think is the most important thing for you and your team to focus on to get into victory lane?
Again, I guess it starts a little bit on Thursday. Perfect world qualify in the front, two, three rows. And then, race day, leading up to the first pit stop, stay out of trouble, stay in the lead lap, stay out of trouble, leading up to the first pit stop, and then go racing after that.
Well, Bobby, I always say there's nobody better to ask than somebody that's in the race. Who do you think you're going to have to deal with in the little 500 to get your second career little five win?
There's that race has gotten deeper and deeper. That's for sure. But you get the obvious guys. You get you get the 56 Tyler Rohrig. You got 77 Cody Swanson. And then it's much deeper than that.
Yeah.
Those are obviously the obvious.
That was a loaded question, Bobby. It was.
But we all know who we're racing. We all know who's going to be on their game and who's going to be up front. And both those guys are most likely qualifying in the front row. So I will be chasing them from lap one. I understand that. I know that. But
would you rather be in that spot? I know some drivers hate, like you said, you're not looking at the pole. Would you rather be trying to run those guys down than leading them?
Obviously I'd like to qualify the better we can
Sure.
and be in better position as we can put ourselves in. But you got to be honest with yourself sometimes too, that on where you're at. But I don't mind chasing, especially in that race. That's a race where you don't have to lead every lap. You just have to put yourself in. It really is about putting yourself in position.
Well, Bobby, man, good luck. Have fun. That's the key part of this thing. But hey, winning's fun too. 2020 champion. Can he make it two on his career? We'll find out here. Little 500 coming up next weekend. Bobby, thank you so much.
No, thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate what you guys are doing and everything with the 500 series and especially the 500 itself.
Well, Redline Ace, let me tell you about them before we move on to our next interview tonight. Redline Ace is a motorsports driven design agency working with series teams and drivers from all aspects of racing. Owner creative Ben Porter has worked on projects from Formula One to local kart racers and wants to inject that experience into every client he works with. In a sport that separates competitors' wins and sponsorships by razor thin margins, why not hire Redline Ace to boost your brand before somebody else does? Time for our second interview this show, and it is our pleasure now to welcome in the gentleman from Medway, Massachusetts. He is a former Little 500 competitor, and he's got some nice accolades to go along with him. We'll get into it. Can I just say it? Can I just, we'll let him say it. Jake Trainor, welcome in, man. What about Little 500, huh?
Man, I love it. It's my favorite time of year. We're just getting goosebumps thinking about it. We're getting close, getting ready to leave, and just excited to get out there.
This is, we just talked about this event with Bobby Santos, and when you look at your stats with the Little 5, man, 50 batting 500 ain't bad at all. Talk about that, man. How did you capture this event so quickly? 2 starts, 1 win. Both of your starts are within the top 5 the last 2 years. That's understanding this race in a quick hurry.
Yeah, it's man, so much preparation went into that first one. It was my second race in a sprint car, but man, we'd been testing and just trying to get me accoladed to the race car for probably a year and a half leading up to that. And they actually ran 2022 with Ken Schrader, and man, he's been a huge piece to helping me with long races and all the strategy that goes with that stuff. And he's helped the whole team, really, just pit strategy, everything. There's so much that goes into the Little 500 to succeed. And there's not one guy that it makes you stand out. It takes a whole team and a whole crew of guys. So
let me clarify for some folks who are maybe just learning about the 500 tour and the Little 500, are not as close followers. I fit into that group that doesn't follow the event as close as they should. First career Little 500 start, you're on the front row. First career Little 500 start, you win the darn race, man. That was 2 years ago now, 2 seasons ago. Do you understand what kind of accomplishment that was to go 1 for 1 in one of the biggest open wheel sprint car races in the world?
At the time, I don't think I took advantage of that moment as good as I should have. Last year it was really bittersweet, leading with 100 to go, and we got turned around by a lap car, and I feel like then is really what made me appreciate how much that first one was and how much that meant. Just so much has to go right. I mean, you got guys like the best of the best there is, and something happens on pit road and you lose a lap or two, and it's just so hard to recover. So much has to go your way, and it starts on Wednesday, just making good laps and getting your stuff right for pole day and a good starting spot and a good pit spot. It takes so much and so much preparation, just getting your crew ready to make pit stops on a sprint car. That's not supposed to happen. So it takes a lot to make everything go around. But luckily I got one of the best group of guys in the country in Matt Seymour Racing.
You just mentioned your connection with Matt. You guys are a very close-knit team. Talk about that relationship and also your relationship with Bentley and running for someone as iconic as Bentley Warren.
Yeah, it's special, man. I work for Matt full time. Just getting all our cars ready, and they have a speed shop up here in the Northeast for all the midget competitors local, and it's a lot of midget racing and all forms of pavement up here. We supply parts for guys, and we're fortunate enough to have some other great help come up and help me and Matt out and Bob in the shop all week, and just prepare for this event. And Bentley Warren, he's a character if you know him, and he's won that race, and he's taught me a lot, and kind of coached me and got me down to earth before that first one. Sitting on the front row, man, I was I was shaking in my boots, just lined up on the front row, looking back at all the guys lined up behind me, and Cody and Rorig on the front row with me. It was eye opening.
Do you feel like winning that race as a rookie and starting so well kind of solidified yourself in the payment sprint car racing community? Because you walk in as a rookie and everyone's like, "Who is this kid?" And then you win the dang thing.
Um, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not. I don't know. I don't try to get in my head too much and out overthink anything that happens. But I know how special that was, and I know there's a lot of unbelievable race car drivers that haven't been able to capture that one, and it's just it's really hard to repeat. We learned that the hard way last year, and we're gonna see what we can do this year. But there's just, like I said, there's so much luck that has to go your way, and so many things that can go wrong so quick and get you behind the eight ball.
What did that win do for you? And maybe your career. You mentioned a little while ago you feel like maybe you didn't take as advantage of it as you could have. With what you had been doing so young in your sprint car career, and really still not a whole bunch of sprint car starts to this point. Been playing around with the Silver Crown a little bit, trying to do some stuff there. The Northeast Midgets, and still doing some stuff there. Last year and the year before that. What did that 500 win do for you?
It did everything. Just to show up like that, and really as a team, we hadn't been, as a sprint car team, we were always just, we're still just a small group of guys from the Northeast coming out there to race against the best of the best in the country. So, it helped everybody. It helped us get more national notoriety and just get a lot more attention on us and what we're trying to do and accomplish. It's even carried over to the Chili Bowl and helping get partners on board for that, and what Matt can do, and I'm just happy I could be a small part of it.
Well, let's go back a little bit. I want to relive your run toward a little 500 championship here just a touch. At what point in this? So first and foremost, you mentioned qualifying day. You qualify really well, obviously, on the front row. You talk about the nervousness of that. First question, have you ever started a race 3 wide before in your life intentionally?
No, God, no.
What were the pointers? Like, does that front row, I mean, everybody who's watched the start of a little 500, it looks chaotic to be 3 wide, but everybody gets it figured out for the most part really quickly and really organized. Did those two veterans come to you and say, "Hey, kid, here's what you're going to do. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what you're going to do," or did you guys just sort it out naturally?
No, it was really cool. I felt like I couldn't have been in a better position for my first race having those two guys that won it, God knows how many times between the two of them, and just talking to them and trying to pick their brain on what the pace is like, and just the early stages of the race, really, and what it takes to make it to the end. And it's just, honestly, I leaned a lot on Ken Schrader and Bentley Warren. They were a really big help, just trying to keep me grounded. And the biggest thing they said, man, just, I don't care how many cars get by you, get to the bottom as fast as you can and get in line. And I felt like that was the best thing for me. I believe a yellow came out lap 1, and I stayed third and rode until the first pit stop, just on Rorig and Cody's bumper, just following them. And I think until the race itself 2 years ago, I had never passed a car at Anderson either. So that was eye opening. Just lap traffic, you're in it in 5 laps. When with a restart going single file with 33 cars still out there. So it's crazy.
It's funny. Bobby mentioned how much luck plays into it with the pit stops and the push trucks and things of that nature. At what point during this race, 500 laps around Anderson Speedway with so many variables, Jake, at what point do you realize that you would have been 18, 19 when this is
18.
happening. 18 years old. At 18 years old, at what point during this race do you realize, man, we could win this thing? When does that sink in for you?
Um, Man, I don't think I really even thought about it until about 70, 75 to go. Bob Seymour spots for me, and he's I'm seeing Cody at the other end of the track. I'm starting to get him back in my sight, and he was backing up slowly, and he's telling me, "Man, go! We're running second here with 60, 50 to go, and lap traffic. I think he bobbled into three, and I shot under him and took the lead. And after that, I didn't think too much. I just was going, man.
Right?
Yeah, but it's just that event. The whole event, it's a long week, and it's just so much has to go right.
You won it as a rookie, 8 rookies in the field this year. What would you tell them to focus on going into it?
Just stay clean. It's hard to keep your nose clean. You don't. I mean, I know myself just running 40, 50 lap races all my life and everything. That's really been the only outlier. And until this year, we've gotten into some Silver Crown stuff, and you're always just go, go, go. It's a short race. You got to get to the front as quick as you can. But with that race, and you just got to be there for the end. You have to make your two pit stops and make it through that, and still try and stay on the lead lap, and just keep yourself in contention.
Silver Crown stuff new to you this year, and are you doing all 3 in that week?
I am, yeah. That's going to be a busy week. We'll be at IRP Friday night with Silver Crown car for Bob East, so I'm really excited for that first Hoosier 100. And I'll be running for Jeff West in the National Pavement Midget, and I'll be running for Matt too, actually, in the new All-Star Midget series they have run at IRP.
So how is that trying to balance all of that in one week?
I feel like it's broken up enough that they kind of make it easy. Jared and Casey Kohler at IRP, they definitely work with each other a lot, and try and make it as easy and comfortable as an experience for the racers as they can. Which it's hard when you're going back and forth, but just you kind of have your deal at Anderson ready for the little 500, and you try and get everything done and ready for Saturday, Thursday night after pole day, so you can go over to IRP and just focus solely on that Friday night, and get up early Saturday and get back to it at Anderson.
This is a kind of a blanket question, but I think this one's unique for you. Winning as a rookie, led laps as a sophomore. You mentioned get wrecked in a race that you probably feel like you have a good shot to post a good finish, if not defend in that event. How are you managing expectations in 2025 now, coming back junior year of the Little 500? What do you expect to do? Obviously, you want to win the race again, but what are your expectations, and what are you and your team talking about what you're going to try to do next weekend?
We want to, we just want to go back and do try and do what we did 2 years ago. We put ourselves in a really good spot last year again, and it's really tough to do that, it's just a lot of luck, honestly, just to get to the end and get push trucks on your side on pit road, make a clean pit stop. And
are you guys busting out 20s for the push truck drivers or anything? Like, how does that work down on pit road?
I haven't yet. I mean, there's moths flying out of my wallet, so I couldn't make that happen, but I'm not sure what's going on pit road. But I don't know. We'll see. The goal is always to try and show up and win, but we got to make the race first, and make sure we can put ourselves in a good enough spot to be around at the end, and see what we can make happen.
I'm going to ask you the same lame softball question that I asked Bobby. Who are you watching when it comes to race day? And obviously you don't know anything yet. You haven't seen anybody practice. You haven't seen anybody qualify, right? You only have film from the Glen earlier this year. But who do you expect to be competing with come race day, 33 cars on the track. Who are a couple that you think you're going to have to deal with?
You always got to look out for Tyler Rohrig, man. It seems like no matter where you go, he is just stout. It's really tough. You got to be perfect to beat him. Um, and Cody, he's unbelievable. He's an 8-time Silver Crown champion. So you always are watching him. Santos, he's won it. He's gonna be there. Um, man, Emerson Axum, he's another one. Just the V6 package he has with Nolan, that thing is always unbelievable, no matter who's behind the wheel. And Emerson's a great shoe, and he definitely proved he's in contention last year. And even Colton Bettis now running for Aaron this year. That's going to be really interesting. I know he was really good at Anderson in April there. And Jackson, he was unreal in April. The arm, it's Caleb. I don't think Caleb's running, but Dakota, he's always a threat. I'm sure I'm forgetting a couple guys, but
That's kind of what Bobby said. He's like, man, this field is deep. You
I
know,
know
you start naming them off, and then you're like, uh-oh.
Yeah, it seems like the more I think, the more I'm like, man, there's a lot of guys, but I know I'm forgetting a couple, but there's 15 at least, I'd say, guys that are in contention and got a good shot.
No, this is why.
Kyle Hamilton.
Yeah, there you go.
And he's back.
There's another one, yeah.
All right, Ashton, anything before we let Jake go? All right, very good. Well, I tell you what, this is why it's Can't Miss TV. Little 500, Jake Trainor. Good luck, man. Junior year going to the Little 500 and already got one win under your belt. Excited to see what unfolds here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, me too. I'm happy to get out there. Just ready to get after it. It's the longest wait especially after how last year ended. I felt like it's 5 years until we got to go back here, but it's finally here. So I'm ready. See what we can do.
Jake, man, good luck. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Well, there you go. Flip the script. As we said, it has been flipped. And so now it is time to get into the preview of this year's running of the Little 500. And I will be completely honest, I almost should just hand all the microphone over to Ashton because I know how much prep work you do for these shows. And I know how excited you are to get down to the Little 5 next week and get back to work with 500 Sprint Car Tour. Wow, there are storylines aplenty heading into this year's program, isn't there?
So much to dive into and look at here. I mean, I'm going to be rambling probably for the next however long you let me talk. I look forward.
Gotta shut it down.
I look forward to this week. It's circled in my calendar. Obviously, I'm off doing everything else ever, but Little 500 week is just so special. Not even for the racing aspect, just the whole community comes together. And like I said, when we talked to both Bobby and Jake about earlier, it's a whole event, getting over to go over to IRP as well and watch that. And then the Indy 500 being in town, it is unlike any other event. And if you have not been yet, you need to go, and tickets are on sale now, $45, all reserved seating. So be sure to get your tickets now. But Zach, should I just start diving in?
Yeah, I mean, so again, just to kind of back that up, the open wheel world is watching Metro Indianapolis next week, and the Little 500. Obviously the Indianapolis 500 is at the top of the tier, and then Little 5 USAC, everything else that's happening is right there in line. And so, yeah, let's go. First headline on our note sheet here is the rookies. We've kind of skimmed over this the last couple of shows. Ashton, what about this rookie class for the Little 5?
Yeah, there is an insane amount of talent within this rookie class. 8 rookies in the field. Let's start with that. And let me just start from the top of the list and start going down. Colton Bettis has kind of taken the asphalt sprint car world by storm. We've talked about him on this show previously. Won the Dream Fund 50 earlier this year with Wings Sprint Car, beating out drivers like Aaron Willison, like Cody Swanson. Obviously, podium finished earlier this year in the Glen Nibel with the 500 Sprint Car Tour. Been off running USAC Silver Crown. Colton is going to be one to watch. We even heard Jake Trainor say it a little bit earlier on. Him teaming up with Aaron for the Little 500. He's a rookie, but he's going to be one that's going to be up front. And then right below him, Landon Butler, 3rd generation driver, son of Shane and grandson of Stan Butler. It would be his first Little 500, and if he qualifies, he would be the third generation
Wow.
of butlers to run the Little 500. How special is that? And just having that wealth of knowledge in his back corner of both Shane and Stan, who've run it so many times. I mean, Shane, as recently as last year, we saw running the Little 500. Just to continue down the list, David Goodwill will see for the first time running the Little 500. Tim Creech as well, the 2024 500 Sprint Car Tour Rookie of the Year. Nathan Bird was in that Rookie of the Year battle as well, making his first Little 500 start. He's raced about everything there is to race by now, except the Little 500, and now he's tackling the Little 500. Um, Rylan Gray as well, a dirt midget driver transferring over now to the pavement sprint car world. Chase Locke as well, big super modified driver up from the Northeast, now tackling the Little 500. And someone on this list who striked me as
Man,
being
you
a
know what?
rookie.
You jumped over her name, and I was sitting here going, "Golly, is that right?" And then when you jumped over it, I thought, well, maybe not. That was really surprising to me seeing Taylor on this list.
Yeah, Taylor Ferns, first time tackling the Little 500. And we talked about it with Colton. She's going to be another one of those drivers that people kind of forget that she's a rookie. She has wins with the 500 Sprint Car Tour. She always runs very well at Anderson Speedway, and consistently in anything she runs. She's one of those drivers that you can circle to consistently finish in the top 10, if not top 5. But all of these rookies and now tackling, and we heard from both Bobby and Jake, all of the uniqueness of this event. That's going to be the biggest thing that plays into these rookies battles.
All right, when you look at this field, 33 cars will take the green flag when the little 500 rolls off. In the field, we just talked to almost 50% of the former winners that are going to be in this race, Ashton. None of these names are going to be surprises to you, except for maybe Jake Trainor, who won that race as a rookie, who we just spoke to. But the former winners, great race car talents, and that's why they win little 500s.
Yeah, Cody Swanson won it a few times. Tyler Rohrig won it a few times. Bobby Santos won it in 2020. Jake Trainor won it in 2023. Kyle Hamilton. Can we talk about that for a second? Kyle Hamilton's back, and he's also back in the car that he won back in 2017 when he won the Little 500. We haven't seen him since 2021. He's back with Clat Enterprises. Last time he was in this car, he ended up in victory lane. He knows this race. He knows this track. He races against a lot of these guys in USAC Silver Crown and when he comes over to the asphalt sprint car world. I mean, this is going to be incredible to have him back in this field.
Yeah, when you get a winning combination put back together, I think everyone's going to take notice of that situation. All right, other drivers that are entered into the Little 500 Memorial Day weekend, Ashton, let's start with this. When we talk about former winners that are in the field, one name that sprint car fans may be noticing that we left off, and that is the defending race winner, is not on the entry list for this year.
Yeah, Caleb Armstrong. I still get goosebumps when I think about the finish of last year's Little 500. I mean, it literally came down to the last 2 laps between cousins of Caleb Armstrong and Dakota Armstrong. Dakota was leading. Caleb got a good run and passed him in literally the last 2 laps. And like you said, Caleb is not entered for this race this year. So Dakota's kind of a fan favorite going into it. Not only did he have that such incredible run last year in the 2024 Little 500, but he also just won the Glen Nibel
Yeah.
earlier this year. So I mean, Dakota is not one you can count out, and he is hungry to add his name to that list of Little
Well,
500 winners.
and Dakota's got a chance to keep a trend going since 2018, and that is the last names doubling up after a year hiatus. Cody Swanson, 2018, 2019. Bobby Santos breaks it. Tyler Rohrig, 2021, 2022. Jake Trainor breaks it. Now I had Caleb Armstrong last year. Can Dakota Armstrong go to victory lane this year and keep the doubling up going on? We'll see what happens. Other names in this field. Let's just go to, let's just start at the top of this list, Ashton. How about a former Daytona 500 winner, stock car superstar, modified superstar back in the day, Ryan Newman, gonna shake the little 500 stick this year.
Yeah, his third Little 500 attempt. But Zach, the more impressive part to me is his crew chief
Mhm.
wrenching on it, Nine-time winner Eric Gordon. If you know asphalt sprint cars, you know that name, Eric Gordon. He's won it 9 times. Teaming up with Ryan Newman, it's going to be one to watch. I mean, Newman comes in with a crew prepared like no other. He takes this very, very seriously. But let's look at his stats here. He's finished 991 laps in the possible 1,000 out of the two he's completed. That's pretty strong.
That is
Um, and a best finish of sixth, and his other finish was 11th. Not awful at all for Ryan Newman, but he's just missing something. And now, going into his third year, this year might be his year.
And you mentioned Eric Gordon too, 9-time winner, five of those consecutively at the Little 500. So he is definitely somebody who knows what Anderson Speedway is capable of and what it takes to win on that unique racetrack. We talked about Kyle Hamilton. How about this one? You and I were talking about this before we hit the record button. You said Jake McElfresh, and I thought, now wait a minute. I recognize that name, and you didn't. CRA street stock competitor, local street stock racer at Anderson. Ashton getting the chance to go racing in the Little 500 this year in kind of a surprise. He's made three previous Little 500s, but was not expected to run in this year's edition.
Yeah, exactly. It was a last minute phone call just a couple weeks ago as a replacement driver for Pat and Patrick Rice, the father-son duo out of Elwood, Indiana. They're owners of a local restaurant in Elwood. So it's a very local team out of a town just north of Anderson. So that's also really incredible to see a local driver teaming up with a local team to be able to tackle the Little 500. It's the first time we've seen Jake back in the field since 2023. So he's going to be, a kind of a curveball in this as well because
Right.
we haven't seen him for a few years. Now he's driving for someone else. He knows Anderson Speedway. So it'll be
And
very interesting to
sometimes
see.
that's the most important part. From what
Right.
we've heard from those two drivers, knowing that racetrack's tendencies can sometimes be the biggest hurdle. So very,
Yeah.
very intriguing. All right, and finally here on our preview, and then we'll talk about some of the details to get your rear end to Anderson Speedway next weekend, Memorial Day weekend. How about this big, walk softly and carry a big stick? This guy does that. How about Logan Seavey gonna run the Little 500? That's a pretty cool pull.
Yeah, third time again. This class of junior drivers that we have this year, Zach, is incredible. Like you said, Logan Seavey, USAC champion, two-time Chili Bowl winner, third attempt here, two top tens and a top five in just two starts. So, best finish of fifth, worst finish of 10th. That's incredible stats. And, that experience now sort of under Logan's belt might be that push that he needs to end up in victory lane or at least be in contention towards the end. He knows a little bit more about those unique factors that we keep talking about the Little 500. So he kind of knows a little bit more of what to expect now. And Logan is a wheelman, and he's going to be one to keep your eyes on for sure.
Ashton, those of us who are in the media business, we are just really, really fortunate race fans who happen to collect a small paycheck at the end of the night. Talk to me from a fan's perspective about the Little 500 and why do not delay, buy your tickets today is so true for this event. $45, all seating reserved, andersonspeedway.com for advanced tickets. Talk to me from a fan's perspective. If you've never been to the Little Five, why is this the year to go?
It is so electric. I fortunately had the opportunity to chat with some fans on Saturday last year before the event, and I talked to someone who had been going to this event for over 50 years. That doesn't explain why you should go. I mean, that's all you need to know. He's been going for 50 years and he keeps coming back every single time. Bobby said it earlier. This is our Knoxville. This is our big event, and the energy in the pits, the it is so electric. There is something going on 24/7. People might say, "Oh my gosh, it's 500 laps. That's so long." There is always something to keep your eye on and so much to pay attention to. Like you said, tickets are on sale, $45. Every seat is reserved online at andersonspeedway.com. But not only that, pull, bump day, and race day all on Dirt Vision. And something a little bit special, pull day and bump day will be free to watch. So,
I think is great. If, let's
yeah.
be honest, in today's world, if you don't have the extra $40 laying around, or you've got, the wife, the kids, and you got three kids and you can't all go, You can at least experience some of the weekend. Caps off
Yeah.
to Anderson Speedway for doing that, because those days, as we just talked about, could be just as exciting as the little 500. As far as intensity goes, pole day is going to be just as intense to make sure you get into the field.
100%. I mean, we heard two previous winners say how important pull day is earlier, especially with so much going on for a lot of these drivers. And then bump day, I mean, that is such a unique factor that we really only see with the little 500. And with over 40 cars entered this year, it's going to come down to the last second to see who those 33 cars are. And with the talent that we have entered this year, it like I am so excited, Zach. I don't think you understand. I cannot wait to get back to Anderson, Indiana next week. I cannot wait to be on pit road for this event. It is one of my favorite events every single year.
77th annual Little 500 practice day, Wednesday, May 21st. And if you're going to take advantage either on Dirt Vision or going down to the racetrack, practice begins at 12 noon. We'll run until 4 o'clock. Then Little 500 CB Fabricating Pole Day is Thursday, May 22nd. We will have a practice session at 11:30 until 1:15, and then the first round of qualifying set to begin at 1:30, and that first round of qualifying will end around 3:30. Then Bump Day, Friday, May 23rd. Practice begins at 11:30, ends at 1:15. Second round qualifying from 1:30 to 3:30, and then Ashton, the 77th annual Little 500. Saturday, May 24th. Front gates open at 3 o'clock. The cars will be in the infield and set up by 4:15, and then the autograph session at 5:30. And the green flag waves on the 77th annual Little 500 at 8 o'clock on Saturday, May 24th. So it is here. Little 500 is here. Next time we talk, Ashton, we'll be talking to a Little 500 champion. Can you believe it?
I cannot wait. I cannot wait. It is, like I said, one of those ones you circle, and I know all the drivers are ready. This is what they've been preparing for all year long, and it is time.
All right, that is going to do it. We want to say thank you to Bobby Santos and Jake Trainor for making time to be on the program. For Jared Owen, Brad Hayes, Ashton Smyth, I'm Zach Heiser. Thanking you all so much for tuning in. We'll talk to you on the next episode of the 500 Sprintcast presented by Redline Ace, coming up Thursday, May 28th. Take care, and we'll see you at the Little 5.